Yes, us. Welcome to the Kefi Live podcast. My name is Kefi L, and I'll be your guide to creating a life of Ola Kala, all is well. Together, we'll get back to the basics, and we'll explore fresh new ways to flourish in mind, body, and soul the Greek way. You can look forward to interviews, stories, essential self-care strategies, recipes, and actionable takeaway Ola Kala moments. This is going to be so much fun. Let's get going. Πάμε! Lexi for today is Taxidi or travel. Taxidi is a concept which, when fully embraced, can be a form of escape, education, and euphoria. Traveling does not have to be to a faraway land. It can be a trip to the local museum, for example, or it can be as extravagant as taking a trip to the Bolivian Amazon jungle. Wherever you travel to, friends, and for whatever reason, seize the purpose for which you are going and make it a καλό ταξίδι, a good trip to you. Eleolado, olive oil, has been celebrated in the civilized world for millennia. Nearly eternal, the oil of this fruit has been more than just food to the cultures of the Mediterranean region. It's been medicinal, ceremonial, sacramental, and the foundation of great wealth and power. It is safe to say that olive oil is the ethos, the essence of Greek culinary culture. Today, the priceless and life-giving ingredients of this liquid gold can be delivered to you when you purchase your premium bottle of Kefi Live extra virgin olive oil from the region my parents were born, the Peloponnese. The coveted Koroneiki olive is extensively cultivated here in the southern part of Greece, which offers the unique microclimate needed to grow a fruit netting the utmost nutrient value for extra virgin olive oil. Kefi Life Extra Virgin Olive Oil, a boundless amount of value, high in antioxidants with anti-inflammatory properties, linked to good mood and improved mental health. Get your bottle of wellness today when you visit kefilife.shop.
I was about to go to work and I collapsed.
Thanks to the American Heart Association's support of life-saving research, Tessa was able to get her life back after suffering from a debilitating stroke. Learn more at helpheart.org.
How important are vacations for mental health? A study released last year by the American Psychological Association concluded that vacations work to reduce stress by removing people from the activities and environments that they associate with stress and anxiety. Vacations can cut your risk for heart attack and allow time to de-stress and recharge. Okay, sign me up. But the real question is, where shall we go? Here to guide us, educate us, and share valuable tips is Mina Agnos, president and co-founder of Travelive. Now, Travelive is loaded with accolades. Most impressively, though, in my opinion, is the Travel and Leisure magazine's A-list, recognizing Mina Agnos as one of the world's top 139 travel agents. Wow. Mina, you are very successful. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
It's really our pleasure. And after our green room conversation, I realized that you are really a wealth of information and knowledge. But I first have to ask you this question because I knew you from when we were really small, and now we reconnect years and years and years later, and it's so exciting to see you doing so well. Where in the world have you actually lived?
I have lived a lot of places. So I started the company in New York City. I was there for about 10 years and then moved to Athens. And I was in Athens for about the past 15. And now I'm kind of between South Florida, Delray Beach, and Athens, Greece.
Oh, God, that's exciting. So you've lived in some really hubs, if you will, some cities that are exciting, some places that we would desire to go and visit. As the president and co-founder, you're listed in Travel and Leisure's A-list as one of the world's top travel agents. Congratulations. So what do you attribute this high honor?
I think that when you love what you do, it really shows. And I truly believe that when people give me 10 to 12 days of their lives, that what I return back to them is a memory that's worthy of that lifetime experience. And I've had clients who've just had wonderful experiences, and they were the ones that really put me in front of Travel and Leisure. So it wasn't something that I necessarily pursued on my own. It was something that came to me just following delivering a lot of great memories.
The best testimonial, I'll tell you what, word of mouth. So do you remember the moment that tell us a little bit about your education and your experience leading up to Travelive, but do you remember the moment that you're like, I'm going to start this fantastic business and help people plan a memorable trip?
I think that I really fell into it more organically. My background was really in the sciences and, the sciences and math. And I went to Greece as a study abroad student when I was about 19. And as soon as I got there, I was 100% sure I wasn't leaving. So I transferred universities. I graduated there. My degree was in mathematics. And during that time, I was spending summers working on the islands. So I would head over to Mykonos and, had jobs doing all kinds of fun things there and thought, tourism, this is it. This is what I want to be doing. Without, I think, really understanding all the work that entails. So when I finished my degree in Greece, I moved back to New York City. And that's when I did a master's degree in tourism because I knew where I wanted to go, but not necessarily how I was going to get there. And it was really September 11th that put me on the path into selling travel, because before that, I was more on a marketing, new technology track. And when the world shut down, it was kind of the first time that it was like, oh, okay, so what do we do? And, in all honesty, I really started a business to kind of pass the time until tourism came back. And by the time it came back, the Olympics were coming to Athens. And that's when people were saying to me, Mina, you're Greek, you lived in Greece. Why aren't you sending us to Greece? And, it was kind of really one thing led to the next. And, to the point where a lot of the business did become Greece. And in 2008, it was enough to say, okay, we need to go back to Athens and really set this up in a way where I've got the services and the partners and everything in place to sell the kind of experiences that I want to be selling. So that's, how it happened. And when we opened the office there, we were staff of 3. Today, we're about 40 and growing every day. And we've opened an office in South Florida as well. So we've also added more destinations. So in addition to Greece, we're covering a lot of the Mediterranean with extensions to Italy, Croatia, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and Spain.
That was my next question. Firstly, congratulations. What a big honor, Mina, and how outstanding to be able to follow your passion and come up with this beautiful business organically. And I find that a lot of times that's when life happens so effortlessly, if you will. But I noticed, right. I want the followers to know that you are wearing this beautiful gold wreath on your head. It looks like a wreath that an Olympian would wear. Tell me about this. It's so pretty.
So I like to represent, and I am currently in Las Vegas representing Greece in a trade show, and I tend to bring in, either mythological or the god themes while I'm attending these events. It tends to be really memorable, but I love it. And so today I was channeling Goddess Athena.
You are doing it splendidly. You are doing it just splendidly. And you have those gorgeous Greek blue eyes. So kudos. So Mina, you mentioned the different countries and the expansion of your company. I did notice that you have on your website, Travelive with one L. You mentioned that to me, Travelive, that you have brands with countries, travel to Greece, travel to Italy, travel to. So do you have experts that help the guests or the clients with these particular countries? Are they experts in those countries?
Exactly. So once we determine we're coming into a new destination, usually there's somebody who's championing it. Typically, it's somebody who's from that destination and who's got a lot of experience there. And then we start a development program, which is traveling to that destination, determining who the right hotel partners are, coming up with the right experiences, and making sure that we've got all of the right services in place before we're ready to fully launch it.
Let's talk about Greece, because I too am a child of immigrant Greek parents, and I have traveled. Yeah, yes, kudos. We are just like, Zito Elada. But in Greece, there's this new slogan with tourism, and tourism is such a big industry. If it's done right, I believe that it can be certainly magical. But there's this new slogan, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Όλα όσα θέλεις είναι η Ελλάδα. All you want is Greece. So how, Mina Agnos, do we begin to approach this destination?
I think that exactly the way that they say it. And, one of the things that I like to do when we're working into planning some new itineraries is to really get an idea of what you want. What is it that's your interest? What do you hope to get out of this destination? What do you like to do when you're at home? And how do we bring that into your experience? So it could be, food and wine. It could be visiting the wineries and seeing how, the local varieties are produced and what's different about that from other wine regions around the world. It could be, mythology and culture. We've got a lot of kids, especially after the pandemic, when kids were studying at home, along with parents working at home, who were coming to Greece and really getting to know history, culture, mythology that they were learning about in school, but getting to do it in the place where it all took place. And, learning about it in real life as opposed to just, through books and photos. So I think that just having an idea of where your interests lie, it's not just a vacation where you're going to lie on the beach. We can incorporate that too, but definitely incorporating all those things that are going to make it a really special memory for you and really personal for you as well.
When I first experienced that, Mina, what you just described was a recent trip. I think it was 2018. We went to Athens and I was with my daughters. I have 3 daughters and a son. And I said to my girls, let's go to the Parthenon and let's just get some pictures and feel the energy and the ethos of our country and our heritage. And they're like, yeah, Mom, let's do this. And we had a driver who was so educated. He was a tour guide, I think. He wasn't technically a tour guide, but he had been educated so well in school that he told us so much of the history and facts about the Parthenon, the Acropolis, the highest point, Acropolis, and the significance. And it really lended an extra piece of value to that trip to the Parthenon. So I really appreciate what you are talking about there.
Right. I think that, the people that guide you are so important. And again, knowing the kind of personality of whoever's taking that trip really allows us to put the right guide in place for them, so that you can have those kinds of experiences where you really get to know about the things that, not just the history and the culture and the mythology, but also what appeals to you about those things.
Even though Greece is so much more than the sun and the sea, which, oh my God, I love the thalassa and the warm, bright, beautiful sunsets and sunrises of Greece. The islands. How do we approach this topic, Mina? Because everybody knows about Santorini and Mykonos and Crete and all that, but there are some really interesting ones popping up. Like I never knew about Milos.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Milos is getting a lot of awards right now, but, indeed, for so long, Greece was kind of a one-time visit where you did Athens, Mykonos, Santorini, and maybe Crete, and saw the Acropolis and Delphi, and maybe did a tour around the caldera in a sailboat. And it's changed so much because especially it started before the pandemic where there was a shift towards people really wanting to get more authentic and really know the local culture and come out of that tourism bubble. But the pandemic really brought human connection to the forefront. So now when we see people traveling to Greece, they still want to go to Santorini. They still talk about Mykonos, but they really want to go off the radar and understand what is the culture like, how do the people live, and go to places like Milos and like Paros and Naxos and even the mainland Peloponneso, do some touring to some of the classical sites. And it's so much more than just Mykonos and Santorini now. And we're starting to see in Greece that, it used to be that Greece was a one-time bucket list trip, but, Americans would travel to Italy 4 to 7 times in their lifetime. Greece is now becoming that, where people are returning 4 to 7 times. So, they're really getting to know a lot more of the destination. And I think that and getting to know the culture and the people and how it is outside of the tourist centers has really made a big difference in terms of, Greece being all you want it to be.
This probably isn't a fair question, but do you have a favorite island?
I do have a favorite island. I used to say it's like choosing your favorite child, and I would never tell because I have favorite islands for different things. But during the pandemic, I spent most of it for about 5 months in Paros. And I made some great friends there. I return there every year. It's one of the more up and coming destinations. So for me right now, that's my personal favorite. But it doesn't mean it should be everyone's favorite. And I think that, really choosing the favorite island based on, what it's best for is the best way to go when it comes to determining where to travel to.
So what is it that you love about Paros?
I love that it is very authentic, but it's also very chic. So you have kind of the best of everything there. You've got the great beach clubs, but you also have the tiny villages that are actually called traditional settlements because they're not big enough to be villages, where life kind of continues the way that it had, back in the days of the Byzantine times when Paros was kind of the marble quarry for all of the region, the Phoenicians, the Cyclades. So you have kind of all of that. You have the ancient history, but you have the modern. You've got great restaurants and dining, but you also have really traditional, great tavernas. So you get kind of all of the best of Greece in one place, and it's literally 1 hour end to end.
There's a place I've always wanted to go, but because of time, and they say, well, my God, Kiki, you're in Greece. Don't even talk to us about time getting from one destination to another, but it can be a little bit tricky. There's a place, and you know it, it's Meteora, and it's a World Heritage Site. Please share with us what Meteora is and why you believe or know that it is a World Heritage Site.
So Meteora is an amazing place that is so different from any images you see of Greece. It is a World Heritage Site because it is a religious center. So it's a place where you've got these incredible limestone cliffs. They say it used to be underwater at some point. But perched on the top of them, you have monasteries, and they're functioning monasteries. So you have nuns and I don't even remember the word for kaloyo in English, but they live there. And they live there in a way that they used to, in old times, I mean, in the past, they used to send down baskets and pull people and supplies up, to them. Where now there are steps, which, some of them require about 3,000 or 4,000 steps to get to. But it is a truly fascinating site, not just for religious pilgrims. I mean, it is one of the more important Greek Orthodox sites, but it's also just a fascinating place to get to know the Greek religious culture and see kind of how time stood still and continues to stand still in this amazing place.
Is it a challenging destination to reach with transportation, I mean?
No, not really. It's about 5 hours from Athens. So typically we would kind of break it up with a visit to Delphi and Arachova. From Thessaloniki, it's a day trip. So you can just drive there and do your sightseeing and come back in the evening or stay over if you wish. But it's truly a stunning spot. It's something that a lot of people who are visiting Greece don't necessarily have on their radar. So it's something that I think is really special and should definitely be on everyone's radar.
Well, after speaking to you now about it and giving that illustrious description, it is still on my radar. So let's talk about the wellness in Greece. I'm crazy about this. I've been thinking about for years planning a Kefi Life wellness retreat. Give me your 411 on wellness in Greece.
Wellness has been something that means so many different things to so many different people. And, up until, I guess, pre-pandemic, there's always before and after now. For me, it was kind of like, you have a hotel that has a good spa, that's a wellness place. And it's really not what it is. I mean, in Greece, you have a lot of places where you've got thermal waters, you've got incredible food, you have people and places to go and get away and not think about things. So it truly is more all-encompassing in terms of body, mind, spirit, soul, everything. And for me, it really all came together I think it was January of 2019. So it was my 45th birthday. And I decided I was going to go on a silent retreat. And I went to Euphoria in Mistra. So Mistra is just next to Sparta. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is a stunning and mystical place. And it's right next to these beautiful forests. And this is a property that is known for wellness. Kind of, it's relatively new, but it's known for wellness in Europe. It's not very well known in the US yet. And I went there with a really open mind because I typically hadn't been at the time the kind of person that would sit and do a breathing workshop or, yoga. And I remember going into the breathing workshop and thinking, okay, I'm just going to be open-minded and do this and not walk out. So I did. And once this ended, the instructor came to me and he said to me, Mina, you're ready. And I was just so confused and thinking, well, what does that mean? What am I ready for? And it turns out that I had some additional sessions with him after this. So I did what's called a Watsu bath, which is, it's in effect, you float in the water and you're manipulated. And it's supposed to be reminiscent of being in the womb. And it was the most intimate experience that I've ever had in my life that wasn't related to, sex, love, relationships. So it was something that I really didn't have the words to express what it was. So I went, back to the property and I just, cried and then drank 2 bottles of wine with my friend. And that was really the beginning for me. So that's when I was really ready. So, I had gone back and a lot of the programs there have to do with energy and wellness. And it's focused on ancient Chinese and ancient Greek rituals. So it was something I truly did not expect. So I went back and did some energy sessions with this same instructor who really kind of changed a lot of things for me. So it's the first time that I really understood how wellness can be something that's so much more personal and spiritual and different than just, getting a massage and coming back moisturized and, relaxed. So it was truly the start of a spiritual journey for me. And that instructor, Nico, kind of continues to be in my life and a very good friend and someone who is truly a healer and remains at that property as well. So everyone should go see him.
Oh, that's wonderful, Nico. And it's so, that's how I equate wellness to sort of releasing toxins in a certain way. I know that sounds generic, but just sort of getting rid of the stuff that's holding you back and holding you down mentally, physically, and spiritually. So, Mina, which trends are you seeing in travel for 2022, 2023, for the rest of the year leading into next year?
So I'm saying that because people have had a lot of time working from home, they're taking longer vacations. So we used to see Americans traveling between kind of 8 to 12 days. Now, I would say on average, it's around 14, but we're also seeing kind of the work from homers who are coming and spending several months and either basing in one place and doing day trips, I know, or moving around and staying in multiple places, kind of a couple of weeks to a month at a time. So that's something that's very different. We're also seeing a lot of multi-generational families. So reunions taking place after everybody's been kind of, isolated and stuck in their various corners of the world or their houses. We're saying that a core family comes together and they decide that they're going to be doing this trip, and then grandparents join and cousins join and, additional family members join. So they turn into this more group experience. There's been a huge shift to, away from those trendy sites to go more off the radar and to really get to know what authenticity is and what Greece is and how people like to live and work and play in these destinations. So it's truly like local is the word right now. And I've also found that, for those who are more concerned about socially distancing and things like that, yacht charters and villas have become a really big growth product, and not just necessarily the ultra luxe yachts that cost hundreds of thousands per week. Even catamarans, where you could start around $25,000 per week, you could fit up to 8 people in there and 4 equivalent cabins. So things like that are really taking off, where you can get to see a lot of places and go to the famous spots, but also more off the radar. But really getting to see things in a way that it feels more comfortable and more socially distanced.
What a great memory or an experience to get a catamaran with a group of people, maybe have a chef on there, tool around. I mean, I know people,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been on any yachts, but I know people that have yachts and they do that. And it's just, that is part of health and wellness, is that connectivity and relationships with other people. And if you do it in a beautiful site, that could be really like life-changing maybe.
Truly, really special. It's really special. And we've seen a lot of families and groups of friends kind of getting together and doing this and just getting completely off the radar and connecting with each other, connecting with nature, and connecting with Greece.
Outstanding. Croatia is becoming really popular. I haven't been, but I hear that people are actually considering it a lot these days. Could you tell me why?
Croatia was one of the countries that had really lax COVID policies early on. So people were allowed to travel there quite early. So from 2020, they never really closed. And that, I think, really allowed them to gain popularity, even though it's an amazing destination, in itself. But what I love about Croatia is that it's this tiny country. It's, part of former Yugoslavia, which we don't really talk about that. But, one of the fun things that I experienced there is that, as someone who has 2 passports, I rarely get stamped. There you have 6 countries that you can visit as day trips. So it's the one place where I went to one different place and I came back with 5 stamps in my passport. So that for me was just super. I mean, highlight, right? But it's,
that's cool.
Yeah. So you truly have kind of like Greece, like Italy, you've got a lot of everything there. So, Dubrovnik, you've got this, Venetian castle town, which is an amazing, archaeological site in itself, but it's also a city. Moving on to the islands where, again, you've got these incredible beaches, beautiful islands. It's a great place to go sailing or experience a gullet ride. You have the wine regions there. You've got the oyster regions. The new Istria is the new Tuscany of this entire region. And then from there, you can also get to Slovenia really easy, which is such a beautiful country and something that's quite a surprise. You can visit Bosnia-Herzegovina as day trips, get to Montenegro. So there are a lot of things in that area that you can do and experience several different cultures, even several different countries within a short distance, even as day trips. Plus, you've got natural UNESCO sites, you've got historical UNESCO sites, you've got incredible food, you've got really great local wines. So it truly has kind of everything in a small space in terms of distance. Plus the price point is still quite good for this area because it is more up and coming.
Sold. I have a lot on my bucket list after talking to you. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Oh my God. Oh, thank you. So as far as COVID goes, because that really was a bone of contention, I think it really the pandemic got people thinking about, hey, life is pretty short. I've been holed up. I've been locked up. I've been going a little crazy. It's time to get out there and experience life. Are there any post-COVID tips, tricks, something you want to tell us about travel these days in 2022 leading into 23?
I think that now things are pretty much going back to normal on the ground level. But we definitely saw a huge influx of, we called it revenge travel, the COVID revenge. But it's at this point, a lot of a lot of the countries, it is. There's a lot of the revenge travel. Most of these countries now have dropped a lot of their requirements, so you don't need to have testing or vaccination for several of them. Coming back to the U.S., if you're vaccinated, you no longer need testing. So a lot of the borders are pretty open, and I would say when it comes to selecting your destinations and how to get there, my recommendation would always be to fly directly into your destination and avoid some of the other Northern European countries where some of them still have some restrictions in place. So that's it. So if you can come from North America directly in, that helps, I think. But as the season progresses and as we go into next year, I think unless there's some other major crisis, we should definitely see that it's going to be similar to traveling in 2019 again.
So Mina Agnos, president and co-founder of Travelive, is there any valuable, I mean, there's just so much more we could talk about. I'm probably going to have to make you a regular if you're open to it. But is there any valuable information or insight today that you'd like to add about travel that maybe I forgot to ask?
I think that the goal is that when you travel, always pack your patience and always be open-minded because, things go wrong. But we're all people and really we're all just kind of on this planet together. So, I know that there's been a lot of separation between cultures and even within the US, cultures and communities. So I think kind of going in with an open mind and really, being open to experiences and people, you'll find that everyone around the world pretty much has the same hopes and dreams for themselves and their families. And, knowing that and understanding it and going in with, the best intentions is really the best.
Well said. Very well said. Well, you are such a special guest, and I ask all my special guests this final question, which is, Mina Agnos, in my life, I've learned that.
So I, as a traveler, have learned a lot of things, but I think one of the most important lessons I've learned is kind of going back to my last point, that everyone around the world has the same kinds of hopes and dreams and wishes for themselves, for their families, for the people around them. And I think that having that understanding really helps you to be a better traveler and a better person. And I think that the more that we travel, the more our minds expand and the more our life expands. And everyone should be moving around and really getting part of that in their lives.
Wonderful and well said. So for the folks that want to travel and they want to take a trip and experience the world but need a little guidance, how should they get in touch with you?
So I can be reached at Travelive.com. Again, it's 1L, Travelive.com. And an email address is priority@Travelive.com.
You have been an outstanding guest. Thank you so much, Mina. It's really great to reconnect and hear all your wonderful pieces of advice, information, and shared stories.
It's such a pleasure. I'm so happy we could do this.
Stay right there. Up next, your weekly takeaway to keep it all as well. Hola, Kala.
This Ola Kala moment brought to you by the law offices of Liston and Centillus. Ranked number 1 by the leading lawyers network since 2010, taking care of all your real estate needs.
Would you ever plan a trip to the Serengeti or the rainforest in the Amazon? My friends Jerry and Mike have been on a safari. They say it's mind-blowing and breathtaking. It's my guess that getting up close and personal to wildlife is a humbling experience. When you go to a place where you're in the midst of large and small animals, more than 3 species of large herbivores and nearly 500 species of birds, all of a sudden you realize the world we live in is enormous and vast and miraculous. Move towards an Ola Kala, all is well mindset when you travel with an open mind somewhere new on the planet that also brings you new perspective.
Kefi Vale is the founder of Kefi Life. She is passionate about whole person wellness and living a fulfilled life. Her Kefi Life podcast is created to simply and naturally help you harmonize the mind, body, and soul the Greek way. Visit KefiLife.com, at KefiLife365 on Instagram, and check out Kefi Vale on LinkedIn and on Twitter. Join us again next time for more positive energy and inspiration on Kefi Life.